Good afternoon. It's 2 p.m. This is a Market View, the Tuesday edition. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Lungile Makakula. Do watch us on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV. We're on DSTV as well, channel 286. Today on the program, we're looking to misconduct in the real estate industry, which will rake up to 250,000 malangeni once the Real Estate Agents Bill of 2023 has been passed into law. The Director of Housing and Human Settlement, Bheki Themba Matsibula, shared this during an interview with business journalist Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla, where he detailed the contents of the bill. Stay tuned to listen to what he said. And for our leading story today, over 1,800 businesses have benefited from the government loan guarantee schemes under the Central Bank of Eswatini. Stay tuned for our business news later. And for our financial update, Senator Sbia will connect with us for today's analysis. It seems China's economy is likely to expand to 4.8% in 2024, undershooting the government's target, and growth could cool further to 4.5% in 2025. For now, let's head straight to our first story. Welcome back. This is Market View, the Tuesday edition. Thank you for tuning in for our first story. Over 1,800 businesses have benefited from the government loan guarantee schemes under the Central Bank of Eswatini. Deputy Director Development Finance, Gcina Nxumalo, has unpacked how these schemes have performed over the years.
In terms of the businesses that we have assisted up to the end of September 2024, we assisted 1,803 businesses, which the loans were valued at 262 million. And of course, not all of them were repaid, or we still have those that are still outstanding. They are still within the system. They are being repaid. Some of them have got challenges in terms of being in arrears. And in terms of the ones that I would say defaulted, the defaults were around 30 million. And in terms of the claims that the scheme has actually paid up to the end of September, it was 23.8 million. That puts the figure in percentages at 11.9%. So those are our defaults somewhere. But of course, they move as some businesses, new businesses come in. The percentage keeps moving. We always urge banks and the non-banks, in cases where we have paid claims, to actually follow up the defaulters, to try to recover some money from those that are still operating, because some you would find that they are operating but a very, very small, at a very low scale.
22 funeral homes have formed the Eswatini Funeral Practitioners Association. The director of the association, Musa Vilagadi, says they felt the need to form the association not only to better transform their businesses, but also to ensure they benefit fully from the Citizens Economic Empowerment Act, which aims to ensure that, amongst other things, some sectors of the economy are reserved for locals.
As government gears up to start implementing the Citizens Economic Empowerment Act, funeral home businesses are positioning themselves to benefit. This has been evidenced by the formation of an association. The director, Musa Vilagadi, says this giant step will ensure proper development for their businesses.
The reason of coming together, it's one, to be a voice of the undertakers when we engage with government, when we engage with institutions that regulate the industry. We also want to be a voice that assists the clients, to say, as an association, as undertaker business, This is what is expected of the profession. This is what clients should expect from an undertaker. We also want to develop relations, like here we're working with Business Eswatini to say there are institutions which are professional, there are institutions that are employer organizations, labor organizations, and those that do international relations in the space of the funerals. We want to work with those in terms of promoting our aspirations. The majority of funerals are family businesses, and part of our intention is to professionalize the industry in terms of the capacity of the directors, the capacity of staff members, looking into the funeral space as a career. Not that we get people who are desperate for work to say they can't find work elsewhere, then they decide to go to the funeral industry. We are fortunate that we are launching this institution now. Government has approved the Citizens Empowerment Act, which we are a beneficiary or one of those components that are to benefit in terms of that act. So we want to make sure that as we embrace the legislation, as we engage with the council, and we make our comments on the regulations around the funeral industry, on the Citizens Empowerment Act.
The director further said the association will look into tailor-made solutions for their clients as some continue to face financial challenges. For Market View, Nelson Ndlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
It's 7 minutes after 2, and that's it for our business news. After the break, Nelsiwe has a detailed interview with Beggitemba Matsibula on the misconduct on real estate industry.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m, where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Welcome back. You're still tuned in to Market View. This is the Tuesday edition. Thank you for staying with us. Misconduct in the real estate industry will rake up to 250,000 Malangeni once the Real Estate Agents Bill of 2023 has been passed into law. The Director of Housing and Human Settlement, Beggitemba Matsibula, shared this during an interview with business journalist Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla, where he detailed the contents of the bill. Let's take a listen.
Thank you, Director, for taking time to be with us on the show. We've been speaking to real estate businesses, and they are complaining that there is a bill that is supposed to guide the way they work, but the bill hasn't seen the light of the day. So we came to you just to find out at what stage is the bill now.
Thanks for the opportunity. That we clarify on the importance of the Real Estate Agency Bill. In as far as we are concerned from the Minister's point of view, right now we are almost at the end of the process because we have been working with the Attorney General's office, who are drafting the bill on our behalf. So right now we are almost at the end. We have a pre-final document right now, which will thereafter be presented to Cabinet for consideration. Once it is approved at Cabinet level, then it will go down to Parliament for piloting purposes.
From my understanding, Director, you started working on this bill in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Why is it taking this long to pass it into law?
A bill really, it has quite a number of processes that go into place. and we are assisted again by the Attorney General's office. So you find that maybe depending on the number of drafters that they have, sometimes you find that they have quite maybe a few drafters working on a number of bills. And it is not only the Minister of Housing that is having a bill maybe before the Attorney General's office. You find that quite a number of ministries and departments, they have a number of bills that the Attorney General's office is working on. In particular, we have to remember that a number of ministries are working or reviewing their pieces of legislation to be in line with the country's constitution, which was passed in 2005. So you find that there is a pressure not only on us, even maybe on the part of the Office of the Attorney General in terms of maybe the numbers of the people that have to work on the bills.
Before we move any further, Director, briefly highlight to us the contents of the bill. What is it that you are reviewing now as a ministry?
Okay, the bill, in terms of what it is trying to address per se, is to provide for the regulation of the practice of real estate agents in the country. We know right now that they are not regulated. The way they do things, you find that some they work from their car booths, some they do not even have offices and all that. So basically, that is what it is trying to address. And secondly, is to provide for the monitoring of trust accounts that we want maybe estate agents to have maybe trust accounts so that we know that in the event that transactions that will be carried out, those monies are not lost out somewhere. Instead, they have to be put into a trust account so that the beneficiaries and everybody who's participating maybe in that process can eventually benefit from the whole process.
Well said, Director. Another issue that is a thorn for real estate businesses is that conveyancers now double up as real estate agents. What does this bill say about that? Is it even allowed?
Yes, the bill, among other things, we want to register everybody who calls him or herself a real estate agent. So that is even by qualification. We also have prescribed qualifications for whom we can call a real estate agent in the country. So conveyancers, they have their role, but their role, in as far as we are concerned as a ministry, is that they are involved in the transfer of properties from one person to another. Conveyancers, by nature, they are they are lawyers. It's just that they are kind of lawyers that work on the registration of properties. Whereas, in as far as we are concerned, when we are talking about real estate agents, it has to be someone who has a diploma or a degree in real estate agents or land management and some other related fields. By practice, they're not supposed to act as real estate agents. They're just involved in the transfer of land parcels or properties from one person to another.
I love talking about fines, Director, because I believe that they have the potential to stop people on their tracks if they want to go against the law. What does this bill say about fines? Does it talk about how much people will be fined if they go against the law?
One of the fines, for instance, it relates to dual representation, whereby you'll find that the real estate agent will will approach one person, and then as they approach that person, you find that then there is what we call a dual representation, in the sense that they'll be selling a property to one person, and then when another person comes up, you find that then that like some double standards of some sort. So according to Section 20 of the proposed bill, is to the effect that any person who contravenes paragraph 1, which is the one on dual representation, shall be guilty of an offence and shall be liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 60,000 or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 12 months or to both. So that's one of the fines, but there are quite a number of them that are provided throughout the bill. Okay, there's another one on discipline. If the board finds a real estate agent in breach of professional conduct, it may do any one or more of the following. It can order the estate agent to pay a disciplinary fine, not exceeding 250,000 eMalangen. So yeah, in the event that there is some discipline that has to be meted and all the like. So those are some of all the fines that we do have here.
Kevagala Director, fully understanding that the ministry is doing all it can to ensure that the bill is passed into a law, what should eMaSwati do in case they face challenges as they deal with the real estate industry?
Okay. I think to real estate agents operating in the country, we would like them to be very much responsible, maybe in the way they conduct their business. It has to be an honest kind of business for now. And we have really taken into account maybe some of the complaints or from members of the public and all the like. That's why then the ministry then had to step up to come up with a bill that will then regulate the industry, because right now it is not regulated. But to members of the public, right now the only forum that is very much helpful, can be helpful to them, is to report these cases. They can report these cases to the ministry, and then they can also refer to the police, so that we know that the perpetrators behind this whole thing can be taken into account. Otherwise, we are not resting at our laurels as a ministry. We are trying by all means to assist members of the public. That's why then we are piloting this bill.
I am just curious, Director, this process started in the year 2022. It's 2024 now. Does it always take this long for a bill to be passed into an act?
Well, for us as the Ministry of Housing, we wish like the bill would have been here already. But as other processes have to ensure, you find that then there are some delays there and there. But we are hopeful that by the end of this financial year, probably there'll be something positive, because once we get the final draft from the Attorney General's office, we are sure that we're just going to take it to Cabinet. Once it's approved, then it will be piloted in Parliament. So for us, this is a very important task, because as a ministry, ours mainly is about policy and legislative framework. So this is one of what we're all about as a ministry, that we have to make sure that the pieces of legislation that we have to use as a country are in place. So it is a very important exercise to the ministry.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show, Director. We hope that the next time we meet, in a year or so, we hope it will be a short time, you will be telling us that the bill has been passed into a law so that the real estate industry can be regulated.
All right, so that was the Director of Housing and Human Settlement, Bheki Themba Matsibula, giving a few clarifications on the Real Estate Agents Bill of 2023. After the break, we connect with Sanel Sbiya for today's financial market. Stay with us.
sabadala ukuthi njengalokhu sivile sive sikhulume
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Welcome back. We are 20 minutes into the program. Thank you for staying with us. We now connect with Sanele Sibiya for today's financial markets. Very good afternoon, Mr. Sibiya. Perhaps we can start with the international markets, looking at international markets. According to Reuters, China's economy is likely to expand to 4.8%, expanding government's target to which is 4.5%. Take us through today's markets.
Hello?
Afternoon, Mr. Sibiya. Welcome to Market View. Yeah, you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right. Perhaps we can start with international markets, looking at international markets. It is reported that China's economy is likely to expand to 4.8% in 2024. Take us through, what's happening in international markets today.
Thank you, Lou. As you're rightly putting it, China's economy is actually likely to expand by 4.8%. But that's actually just a couple of points below what markets were expecting. And we are seeing that coming into play. Maybe let's start in Hong Kong, in China, where these are very much quite prevalent. So what we are seeing there is you can see the Nikkei is actually up because it's really largely reacting to international sentiments and, on the back of Wall Street, that's in America. But if you look into Hong Kong and if you look into the Shanghai Composite Index, you can see that it's taken a bit of a knock purely because of these poor growth numbers. They may be good growth numbers, but below what we expected for the Chinese economy. And that's what we are seeing, those numbers happening there. And that's also largely due to the fact that, China has actually come up with stimulus, but hasn't really done much in terms of tabling something tangible for the market. So that's what we are seeing happening in the Asian region. And then if we move on to the American markets, you can see there that, the move is purely upbeat. We are seeing, the markets are not breaking record after record. So what you are seeing there, you are seeing the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, and we are seeing the S&P 500 making new records, and that's a bit of some all-time highs. So what's influencing those market movements is the fact that what we are seeing in the US, we are most likely going to go into this interest rate cut, and markets are actually very much responding very well to that. And it's purely because we're returning to softer money, which actually is expected to spread demand. And we've seen news coming out of the Federal Reserve Bank of Michigan, really just talking about that scope of being now the Federal Reserve Bank is actually going to move towards trying to balance between growth and keeping the economy going with inflation. So there's been a change of stance from that earlier on. Remember, in the year when the interest rates were high, the Federal Reserve Bank was adamant in actually keeping inflation at bay. So we are seeing now that they have changed tunes. So that's what markets are reflecting. And also we're going into November, into October right now in November. So we're seeing those earnings coming out this week. We're going to see the earnings reports coming out. So that's also pushing markets in the right direction. And then when we move into the European markets, what we are seeing there is that mixed reaction. We are seeing that within Germany, a recent report has been released showing that the German economy in terms of investor sentiment has actually somehow improved. So that's what we are seeing happening there. That's why Germany seems to be ticking up well compared to, when you look into the London market with the TSE 500 chiming down a bit. That's purely because, the UK released GDP growth numbers for the quarter that were not so very much impressive. Actually, it was way below what markets expected. So that's what is playing a role into the London markets, and also the fact that China is not doing very well. So that means it's talking issues of overall demand. But what really is driving that movement in the UK is purely because of the poor economic data, which might mean that the Bank of England might have to keep interest rates going forward into the next meeting. And then when we come down to South Africa, you will see that the JSE has actually taken a few knocks, losing a few hundred points there. So that's back on the 85,000 mark. So what we are seeing here is markets in South Africa are looking two ways. They're taking this data coming out of China because that also signals how South African demand is going to be impacted, and also looking west to see how American markets are performing. And we're waiting to see how the data is going to turn out today after yesterday's holiday in the US. So the markets are just waiting to see those. And we are waiting for quite a number of economic indicators to come out of the US this week. The likes of the retail data and also the weekly jobless claims. So markets are trying to price that in right now. And also we're moving fast into that election in the US. So markets are already starting to price that in. That's why you are seeing those movements. And then in the domestic front within the Eswatini Stock Exchange, again, we've not seen any movement. We last saw movement last week, and we do hope to continue seeing a bit of more movement as we see more earnings reports being tabled, with companies really just giving out more information about their performance over the year. And then when we move into commodities, you will see that gold remains a bit high because of the interest rate story. So now that cutting interest rate is somehow supporting gold to stay a bit high. And when we look into the price of Brent crude, you can see that Brent crude is in a way not responding so much to those Middle East crisis, rather just focusing on a demand type of story. And we've seen the Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, just tabling their demand report, showing that they are expecting a weaker demand than one would have expected, mostly due to the China story and that weak demand coming out of China and that continued deflation within China. So the markets are pricing that in so much rather than pricing in the volatility that we are seeing in the Middle East. Then coming into the currencies, what we are seeing there is, the dollar continues to be strong against the rand. We are back above that 17.5 region. Remember, we had called an equilibrium to somehow okay around that 1720 type of region. But that's purely because when you look into the US, the treasury bonds are actually rising in terms of returns, and then we are seeing that money flowing into the US. Same thing when you look against the euro, the same dynamics with the euro gaining strength because of that stability within the euro region and expected economic performance. Same thing against Japan. You can see that the Bank of Japan is actually ensured that they are doing all they could to make sure that the Japanese yen does not lose, because it was on a losing streak at the beginning of the year and towards the end of the first half. So we're seeing all of those movements playing together and making sure that our currency is just relatively weakened. Thank you, Lou.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Spear, for today's analysis for the reaction of markets today. And that's it for our Market View Tuesday edition. We've come to the end of our program. This is the final segment of the program. We'll see you again tomorrow for Nedbank Business Watch. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely day.